Okay, we will see the doors closing in a moment. And we can see that nose wheel steering is already disconnected. This is done from the ground. Take notice that here the switch is on, but the ground has a special switch on the ground that they turn off the steering wheel. And the doors are closed, and we will start the pushback immediately. Parking brake off, and we're pushing back. While pushing back, we can continue with the checklist from the line.
Okay, thrust levers.
Thrust levers closed.
Parking brake.
Parking brake is off. We're pushing back.
Okay, now after start.
All right, so before start checklist is complete. We checked and double checked and triple checked the thrust levers, because this is very important, because the engines will start in any way. So if the thrust levers would be in middle or max position, the engines after the start would automatically go to full thrust, and that's very dangerous. So we double check that they are closed.
Okay, after start.
After start, we'll do after the start. Yeah, so the engine start procedures. We have everything set up, and we put the ignition switch into ignition and start. Okay. So put this into start. Left side, right side, sorry, yeah. And the bleed air goes down, and we can see the engine panel automatically pulls up. And we start the right engine. We start engine number 2 first, because engine number 2 powers the yellow hydraulic pump, and the yellow hydraulic pump powers the brakes. So we start engine number 2 to have full brakes. And we can see on the display that the N2 is rising. Then ignition turns on. Then fuel flow rises, and then after fuel flow rises, in 15 seconds the engine should start. So we can see N1 and EGT also rising, and oil pressure rising. Generator 2 turns on. And normal parameters are N1 should be around 19, 19.5, EGT around 390, 380 degrees, N2 around 59, 60%, and fuel flow should be 280 kilograms per hour. So everything looks good. Engine 2 is started. We start engine number 1, and pushback is complete. We also turn on the brakes. Okay, N2 is rising. At 18% the ignition turns on. At 22 fuel flow. And then EGT and N1. We'll also try to do a manual start next lesson. And generator 1 turns on automatically. So N1 stabilizes at 19%, EGT 384, good, N2 normal, fuel flow normal, and we have oil pressure and temperature is good. So 2 engine starts, all good, engine start is complete. After start procedures, after 2 normal engine starts, it goes like this. Engine mode selector we put into normal, and then pilot non-flying. So ground spoilers to armed. Yeah, pull on it, and it's armed. Rudder trim should be 0, so we reset for 0. Good. Flaps 1. Flaps 1.
Pitch trim.
Pitch trim. Center of gravity for today is 25%. We can see the center of gravity on the inner left or inner right side here, and we put the mark to the corresponding center of gravity. Good, and ECAM door page.
Check.
Yeah, we check that everything is closed and slides are armed. Looks good, oxygen is good. Alright, so while pilot non-flying does the pedestal, pilot flying does the overhead panel. We put the APU bleed to off. This would normally be done immediately after engine start to minimize the possibility of inhaling any fumes or something like that from the engines into the cabin. So APU bleed is off, and we turn off the master switch of the APU. It will cool down and turn off automatically. After that, we check the anti-ice. If it's required, we turn on the wing or engine anti-ice. Today it's not required. So the overhead panel is done. We check the status and we're clear to disconnect. So we'll do the after start checklist now. Okay, so after the start, we're ready to taxi. Clearance is given, clear to taxi, or after start checklist.
After start checklist, anti-ice.
Anti-ice not required.
ECAM status.
ECAM status checked.
Pitch trim.
Pitch trim set.
Rudder trim.
So yeah, we have pitch trim again 25. Set rudder trim 0.
Okay, after start checklist complete.
Okay, checklist complete. So we turn off the parking brake. Taxi light should be off and then taxi. And practically no power is required to start it rolling. We're already moving with no power applied. And we use the wheel. So we apply just a little bit of power. And then check the brakes. Yep, brakes are good. Release the brakes. And now we'll check the flight controls, okay?
Full left. Full right. Pitch up.
Yep. Pitch up.
Pitch down.
Good. And rudder.
Full left.
Yep.
And full right.
Okay, good. Alright, then the pilot non-flying does the same, but silently, and watches the ECAM and uses the stick to do the check on his side.
Let's check it.
Okay, so we're while taxiing, we continue to do the procedures. So auto brake maximum, and then do the takeoff configuration test. Yeah, it should show no blue lights. Takeoff configuration is normal. And then we do the before takeoff checklist.
Okay. Before takeoff checklist, flight controls.
Flight
check.
controls checked.
Flight instruments.
Flight instruments checked.
Briefing.
Briefing is completed.
Flap setting.
Flap is 1 here, and we can see flaps 1 here also.
Speeds V1, V rotate, V2.
We have V1 135, VR 140, V2 140 set.
ATC.
ATC is in
Set.
front and set. Yep.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff no blue, everything is green. And yeah, before takeoff checklist, the line is completed. And we got the clearance to line up on the runway. So before takeoff, after the line.
After the line, takeoff runway.
Confirmed.
Cabin crew.
Cabin crew is advised.
TCAS.
TCAS, so TERA.
Array.
Yep.
Engine mode selector.
Engine mode selector is normal for today.
Packs.
Packs are on, 1 and 2. Okay, so before takeoff checklist is completed, I release the brakes, the pilot non-flying turns on the lights. So strobe lights to on, runway turn off lights to on, landing lights to on, and nose lights to take off. We turn all the lights to on to, well, essentially during the day to scare away the birds. So there will be a less chance of a bird strike. and of course during the night to see the runway better, and that other planes would also see us better. And we turn on the runway. The pilot flying usually does a thrust bump. That means that increases the thrust to around 50% to check if parameters are stable, and then reduces back to closed. And we are on the runway ready for takeoff. So takeoff procedures after takeoff climb will be for the second lesson. We'll finish the first lesson here, and then the second lesson will include takeoff and climb and so on, and also manual starting, and I believe also some failures during the start. So we'll see what to look for and what to take notice on and what to do if we have a failed engine start.